Okay, a couple questions on angels and demons. Last Sunday, you explained how the Holy Trinity is connected. God created everything. Satan was in the Garden of Eden. Did God create Satan? If Satan is a fallen angel, then he existed before the Garden of Eden? God created the angels for what purpose? Thank you. Okay, so we answered a few of these questions in our series on angels and demons, but let's go a little bit further in a few areas. Number one, we talked about how we can deduce from the Genesis account that Satan had fallen sometime before Genesis 3 simply by virtue of the fact that here is an unfallen Adam and Eve and a fallen Satan interacting with one another. So something must have occurred that's not recorded in the first three chapters. And of course, that brings us to ask the question uh, when did that happen? What are the time elements associated with this kind of angelic fall? A few things to say in this regards. Soon as we get into this realm, we're going to be entering into a idea or a concept that really excludes time as we know it. You know, in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, it says, with the Lord, a day is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. When we talk about God doing things before the foundations of the world, well, that would mean before time. I mean, what we understand about the theory of relativity, that our position in the universe, our speed through the universe, our mass, uh, all of that is related to time. And so, to conceive of a pre-time, a pre-created world sphere in which spirits exist, I mean, at minimum, they're going to experience time very differently than we do. Interestingly, though, I mean, Job 38 probably speaks to this better than any other place in the Bible that I know of. In Job chapter 38, God is speaking to Job. He's kind of taunting him, honestly, at this point. He says, where were you when I laid the earth's foundations? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? Or what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstones while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? That's Job 38, verses 4 to 7. So, we get this scene. God himself is telling us about this scene where angels are somehow rejoicing as they watch God create the universe. And I think what's very instructive that there is angelic activity pre the created earth. Now, is that what's being referenced in Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, God created the heavens first and then the earth. Or is that referencing sometime even before that? It's hard to tell grammatically. I mean, the word heavens could mean just the sky above, or it could mean the angelic heavens. I mean, there's not a lot of clarity there. So, but just the point. The point is to get our minds around what exactly is being referenced there is difficult to do, but there would certainly be some point of time, some experience, if you want to remove the time word, some experience prior to creation where angels did exist and this angelic fall happened. So yes, Satan is a fallen angel. What was the purpose of angels being created? We referenced this on Sunday, but just to review, angels were created, number one, as perfect worshipers of God. Number two, as angelic messengers. That's built into their name. They bring messengers from God to man. You need a creature who is able to stand in the presence of God and not be incinerated. And then you need a creature who is able to stand in the presence of man and not incinerate man. And that is angels being designed to bring messages from God to man. And then the third purpose we read about in Scripture is that they become ministers of help to believers. They actually aid believers in certain ways. Second question, when the madman saw Jesus, he ran and bowed down in worship. But then he asked, why are you messing with me? My question is evidently the madman had some own control of his speech and also had knowledge of Jesus, right? And why did the evil spirits say me instead of we if there was a legion in the madman? Also, why would Jesus not destroy them instead of doing what the Spirit asked by sending them into the pigs? Well, let's start with that last question because I think it helps open up the other questions. Why did Jesus not destroy the spirits instead of sending them into the pigs? And I think the best answer there is that spirits cannot be destroyed. Spirits, by definition, theologically speaking, are eternal beings. We are a spirit. We are eternal. We have spirits and we are eternal. Unbelievers have spirits and they too, their spirits are eternal. So are demons, so are angels, so is God. So I think all of these, this whole concept of spirit, we must understand by definition, it's uh, all beings except for God were created at a point in time, but they move forward for eternity. So that's the reason I think why the Jesus didn't destroy them. He could not. That was not part of the way they were designed to be. The choice was twofold. He could either have sent them immediately into the lake of fire, prepared for Satan and his angels, or he could have let them go and possess the pigs, in which case he did that, only for a short time since they ran off the cliff and died in the water. I mean, who knows what happened after that? Maybe they were released and able to go possess other creatures or something along those lines. Um, but that's what was going on in that text. Now, let's talk about the madman himself. Why singular versus plural? I think the best explanation there is that when the man is kind of referring to himself, he's as a physical creature, he's going to say me. When he's referring to the creatures inside of them, he says we are legion. I think that makes sense. Does this man, this madman who is possessed, have conscious awareness of himself and conscious awareness of Jesus? I think absolutely. I don't think that being demon possessed means you lose control of all awareness of self and all ability to control self. I think that being possessed or or controlled by Satan or whatever, I mean this whole thing is a spectrum where we begin to give ourselves over to darkness. That's really what's behind all of these scriptural references to the kingdom of darkness versus the kingdom of light. Even something as simple as a lie. Where does that come from? That comes from the father of lies. It comes from Satan himself. And so as we give ourselves over to a lie, which gives ourselves over to deception, to twisting the truth, to ignoring the truth, to callousing our hearts against the truth, I mean, eventually, all you're doing is giving yourself over to what you've already given yourself over to a million times previous, which is like, I don't want God. I don't want light. Light hurts my eyes. I want to get as far away from that as possible. And a demon's going to help you do that. He's only going to accelerate the process that you've already started in your own life. As C.S. Lewis said, hell ultimately is a door that's closed from the inside. In other words, people say, I want nothing to do with God. There's nothing I want less than to be in the presence of this light emitting God of the universe. I want to be on my own in outer darkness. And so what you see here in the passage in terms of Jesus' interaction and freeing this man is really just a dramatic version of what happens in every conversion experience, where we are released from these forces that imprison us and restrict us from seeing God in all His glory. We're released from those things, and finally, we can see Jesus for who He is, and we're standing there in sanity, in ability to see clearly, our minds working properly, and we behold Jesus and we fall on His feet and worship Him. That is the miracle of salvation that happens in every person. It's just put on dramatic display here with a Gerasene demoniac. So hopefully that gives you some context in terms of thinking through how the spiritual realm interacts in a demon-possessed person.